based on the questions that we would have had when we were starting out, like some things that we think are really important to have a good knowledge of. And so hopefully you got a chance to see that. And so after that, we allowed you guys to, send in your questions. And so we'll go ahead and address them today. And so also with me today are 6 other members from the Research Skills Society. And they have lots of research experience, very different research experience as well. And so hopefully that'll prove to be beneficial for you to just hear a little bit about, everybody's story and how they got to where they were. So I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll do the alphabetical order type thing. Aoife, if we could just get started with that. Brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Aoife. I'm a senior advisor. I was the president of Research Stock last year. Am I introducing my own research now, or we pass on?
Yeah, just brief intro, you guys, your research experience or what year you're in, whatever you feel like.
Okay, I'm Final Med, and my research experience in RCSI started off in the summer of IC1. I went with Dr. Fidelma Fitzpatrick and I did a project on sepsis. I've also been involved in a few systematic reviews, currently doing a systematic review on COVID and also on Haemophilus influenza in pediatrics. I went to Harvard and did my SSC there in traumatic brain injury. And that's kind of me. I'll pass it.
So then we'll go, so Ali's not here right now, but so Caitlin and then Katya and Katerina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin. So I'm in SC1, so 4th year this year. And so for my research experience, I started doing research the summer of 1st year. And that was with Dr. Sudipto Das in the Research Summer School. And then the following summer after that, I was with Dr. Claire McCoy in the Research Summer School. And then for my SSC, I was working with a lab in Texas under Baylor College of Medicine. And then I've continued to work with them throughout the summer remotely. So yeah, that's my research experience.
Hi everyone, my name's Katya. I'm in Med 2 or IC1 with the new name change. But this summer was my first summer doing research, and it was really cool because it was one of the first times that students have gotten the chance to do remote research due to the COVID restrictions. So I undertook some research with Dr. Claire Conway and Dr. Amir Hamid on tricuspid valve disease, and I did a literature review on that. So I look forward to talking to you all about that.
Hi, my name's Katie. I'm the other vice president of Research Skills Society. I'm also in SC1. I did the 6-year program, so I'm in my 5th year now. My research experience started in foundation year when I started doing data entry for some small projects at my home hospital. And then I really got involved in research. I went to Johns Hopkins in the summer after my IC1 year, and I did research in pediatric medical psychology. And then I returned there for my SCC, I forget what it's called, my research block in IC3. And I did research in adult thoracic surgery with a connection I made when I was there the first time. Nice to meet you all.
Perfect. And I think I just saw Emma log on there. Emma, are you there? No? Okay. So we'll go on to the first question then. So the first question is, when is the right time to start emailing and reaching out to prospective PIs for a research position over the summer? So Aoife, will we start with you again?
Sure. So my advice to that, and my answer to that question is, as soon as you think of it, as early on in the year as you think of it. People like to be well planned out, have their summers planned out, so I would contact people ASAP.
To add to that, so normally if it's a summer research opportunity, like during normal schedules and during normal times. Like normally, like you have your semester, and then you start thinking about like contacting PIs for summer during your Christmas break. So for me, that would always be like second week of December, third week of December, whenever I'd go back home, and I would give it like a day or two to see the university website, to find the PIs, to find the research projects that they're working on. And I would just email a lot. Like I would send out lots and lots of emails. And that was the way that I did that during my first break for that summer. And I would do it before Christmas time, because a lot of people aren't at work, and like your email will go to the very, very bottom. And also like not the first week of January. So let's say you couldn't do it before Christmas, just you were busy or whatever happened, I would wait like maybe until second week of January, just so people get the hang of like normal workflow again. If anybody else has anything to add to that.
Yeah, so just really briefly, I'm just going to add that if you're looking to do it through more of a program rather than just a specific PI at a hospital or university, these programs usually have very early deadlines, so end of January, beginning of February. So if you want to look into programs to apply for research, definitely look into it starting October, November. It's never too early to start looking, because with these programs, they are very competitive. So the sooner you look into it and decide what you want to do, the better for you to get a research position.
Yeah, and in my experience, I found that getting in touch with PIs earlier on, there's a lot of work that you might have to do before starting research, like different trainings and paperwork and things like that. So it's good to start that early. And also, the earlier you reach out to your PI and get set up on a project, they might have some like literature review or like different ways you can get involved in the project before actually starting it full time. So if you reached out to them earlier, like there's always things that you can do leading up to the summer.
And Katie, I forgot to mention this, but are you able to record now? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so if we're happy with that, we can move on to the next question. And you guys, all those listening, if you have any questions, you can just pop them in the message box and we'll get to them. Or you can just put your hand up as well. So the next question is, when is the best time to start research? So is FY too early?
I'm going to have the same answer. There's no such thing as too early. Start as soon as you can. Oh, there's Emma.
Sorry, I was here. I do apologise. It wouldn't let me talk or put on the mic or anything, so I don't know. Anyway, I am here, I promise.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, so my answer to that is always as soon as you have started medicine and in FY, go for it. Start as soon as you can. It'll only add to your profile.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think, especially when you first enter med school, not a lot of people think about doing research. Like research kind of comes into people's focus maybe like second year or third year med. But for me, because I did research in first year med, I think it really helped me get my next research project, whilst a lot of people struggled, because as the years go on, research summer school has become like increasingly competitive. So I think, and a lot of them are demanding like previous research experience. So I think like me having done a research project in the first year, like made it a lot easier for me to get a second project. So like, I definitely would recommend doing research early, like foundation year, first year, like whenever you can get one.
Anything else, you guys, or does that pretty much cover it? Yeah. So basically, as soon as you can, just see if you'd be interested in it. And yeah, Emma, the question was, when should we start research? And yeah, we basically just said whenever you can, as soon as you can.
Yeah, any opportunity that you're given to do it, do it. Doesn't matter how passionate you are about the project, any research experience is experience. And as I can't remember who said it, but the research summer school is becoming insanely competitive now, because people are starting to realise how important research actually is. Because you're not just a medic, you are a scientist. You are looking at the forefront of new technologies and new methods and things. So go get the experience, go hustle, do it. Like, there's no harm in sending an email very politely. use them formal, prof, doctor, whoever. But yeah, there's absolutely no problem with going out and trying to find the opportunities yourself rather than waiting for college to give you the opportunity to do it. Make your own, but respectfully.
Okay, perfect. So actually going off of what Emma just touched on there, our next question is, so is there a sample email that we can use to contact our researcher for our SSP? I don't know how to explain SSP to them. And connected to that would be, how do I cold email professors effectively? So if I could just say, so for the sample email, we actually covered this in the research PowerPoint. So maybe I could just share my screen and get you guys to take a look. Okay.
Hey, Carol, I think your mic is muted if you were saying something.
Yeah, so my computer is lagging. So basically, Microsoft Teams recognizes every other screen except my PowerPoint screen. So I'll just tell you guys, I'd refer you to the PowerPoint presentation and just take a look. We drafted a draft email, a general email that you could get inspired by to send out to a PI. It's just very professional, just a brief thing or two about, a project or projects that you're interested by that they have done, and just a brief line or two about yourself and your research experience. And if you don't have any, then your enthusiasm for it, always advertise for yourself. And so, yeah, I'd refer you to that. The approach that I always took, which is not the one that everyone takes. For example, I know Caitlin, she would always write very specific emails tailored to very specific PIs. But for me, when Christmas break came around, I would just send nearly 100 emails in 1 to 2 days, and just try to get it out there, just try to email as many PIs as I could, because my thought process was, if they are looking for a researcher or a helping hand, then they'll respond, they'll start a conversation, even though my email wasn't very wholehearted, I guess. It wasn't an essay about them. It was, a few liners, but I thought that would be the way to approach them, because if they needed somebody, then they would reach out. And it worked for the years that I did it. But sometimes it would be the second week of January, I'm I've heard nothing, or nothing came through. So it could work or it may not. Caitlin, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so there's lots of different approaches that a lot of people take. There's one which Carol does, which is sending a whole bunch of emails. But for me personally, I prefer targeted emails. So what I do is I identify which researcher is, number one, actively publishing on PubMed, because different people have different goals at the end of it, but I think for me it's I wanted to get something out there, maybe get a publication. So I was looking at, number one, who was actively publishing in the field that I was interested in. For example, if I was interested in colorectal, I would go on PubMed, see who was actively publishing on colorectal, and then I'd look at the specific names. So usually you look at the last few names, because those are the senior authors, those manage the labs and stuff. So you click on them, see if you can find their emails, their profiles, look into a little bit about the kind of work that they do in their lab, and then send very specific emails to the senior authors, talking a bit about their papers, why you're interested in working with them. And so because you're doing a targeted approach, the number of emails that you send are a lot less but it doesn't mean that you put in less effort, because it takes a lot of effort to like actually identify and like find these people, because sometimes getting their emails is like really challenging. Yeah, so but for me, I find that was effective because I sent less emails, but I did still manage to get the responses that I wanted. So you can pick whichever method works best for you, as long as you're getting the emails out, like you're bound to get someone respond to you.
Would you guys have anything else to add about how to contact them effectively? I would say one more thing, like to that email, I would add like a CV to it as well. So just polish up your CV. Compass like is really good for that. They'll get back to you with some comments, some advice about how to make it clean, like easy to look at, and yeah, I would get that done. And so every email that I would send out, it would have my CV, and make sure that actually for my CV, I always said references available upon request. But for one of my PIs, he actually recognized my old PI's name, and they met each other at a conference, something random, like they're not really like close. But he called her and he asked her like what's Carol about, like that kind of thing. And I hadn't even like told her about like looking for other research opportunities like for the next summer, but she ended up being like a great reference for me. So your previous PIs might automatically become your references, even if you don't like put them there, So yeah, be careful about what you put on your CV because they can double check it that way.
I was just going to add for specifically to foundation years, I think that when I was starting off in research, definitely a point against me was like, I'm a first year student, I don't have any experience, I'm desperate, I'll do anything. So I think that the method that maybe works better when you're starting off is kind of like what Carol said, just sending emails, just really looking for somebody who's looking for a student that has the time to give to get some experience. So just really sell yourself in that way. I think later on in the years, when you kind of know more what you like in research, what you're interested in, then a targeted approach is important for catering your resume towards like maybe one or a few different directions. But when you're just starting research, I think it's really you're just looking for whatever you can get. So sending out a lot of emails and just saying, I'm looking for any experience you can give me. That might work better when you're starting off.
And I'd add to that as well, if you're in the clinical years and you're on placement and you're talking to doctors like in practice, there's no harm at all in offering, asking, are you involved in any research? Do you need help with any research? And you'll find sometimes they actually ask you, they'll be like, is anyone in the group interested in this? But like you won't know unless you ask. A lot of them are involved in audits, even the junior staff, not consultants, even like SHOs, regs. Just if you want to find research, you'll find it. And if you're in the clinical years, I'd capitalize on that and ask.
And would you guys ever add like anything else, like your transcript to the email?
No,
I never did either, but
I've never personally added a transcript, but like when I was reaching out for research on my very first year, like what I found like helped a little bit was if you did any observerships in like a related thing, for example, like your research is in like colorectal and you did like an observership in like a colorectal department, like just throw that in there. Be like, oh, like I don't have research experience in colorectal, but I did like an observership in this hospital under the colorectal department. It really might help you, like it might shine light on your application and be like, oh, I can see why they're like wanting a colorectal research because, they did a placement. I found that really helped me when I had no research experience.
Okay, perfect. So before we move on to the next question, we have Ali. Ali, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So then Ali is senior advisor as well. He was co-president with EFA last year. Ali, if you want to give yourself a brief intro.
Hi guys, how are you? So thank you for introducing me, Carol. So yeah, we started the society last year, and I don't know how much do you guys speak about obtaining research opportunity and what things we touched on. Are we speaking about emails now?
Yeah, so the question that we just answered was, when is the right time to start emailing? No. We said, is there sample email that we can use, and how could we email professors or prospective PIs effectively? So I guess basically, yeah.
Yeah,
if you have anything to add
I
to
just
that.
would like to touch on that subject if we have a little bit of time.
Yeah, go for it.
Fantastic. So just a quick background on myself. I did do kind of a 5-month research in Boston and BWH and Harvard Medical School in the past. I obtained that through emailing PIs and emailing connections all that know the PI and securing that research opportunity. So I got that position merely by just emailing people. And emailing and getting no's all over. And then that didn't stop me. I kept emailing until finally it worked. So my advice on email, I've since that email that I've sent, and I think that research opportunity did actually change my life because it taught me a lot about research, taught me about medicine as well. I was going out of second year. I didn't know much about medicine, so this research opportunity did teach me a lot, and I've since developed the way I email and contact PIs. So to email a PI, I'm just going to give you my tips, is that I found out that the best thing you do, because those PI do get 100 emails a week, even if not 500 emails a week. So to really stand out, you basically shouldn't just say, oh, I would like the opportunity to work with you, and that will be great honor, and that will, because everybody can do that. Everybody will say that. The way you say it is try, even though do not take yourself for granted. Do not think that you are less than the PI, because you are actually, as a medical student, you're gonna help the PI to do the things that he cannot do because he doesn't have time, and wouldn't do because it's basically lower than them. So you have to say, listen, I'm going to help you. So in your email, don't say it's going to be a great honor to work with you, blah, blah, blah. But do mention the last sentence is the sentence that they're going to read. And I advise you to put space in that email. So you put on your whatever, and then have a space. And then at the end, have a sentence, say, listen, I will help you in this and this and this. So you can say, I'm good in Excel. I know in Excel. If you know any programming language, you can say, I know this programming language. I worked with stats before. So do mention something that you're going to help them with, and you're going to stand out this way. Okay. Obviously, if you tell that advice to everybody's going to stand out. It's not going to work anymore. So keep it for yourself for now. Yeah, that's my own advice. And then later on, I'll touch on another subject on how to contact them without email or in conjugation with email. So, all right. I'll leave the floor to you, Carol. Thank you very much.
Actually, Ali, we didn't get that question. So if you want to touch on it now, it would be a good time.
Okay, so the thing is, my other kind of method of contacting PIs is what you call it, LinkedIn, all right? So basically, so the PIs get, as I said, 500 emails a week, and what makes them click your name or click your email instead of other emails is kind of either chance or a subconscious feeling that they have, because at the end of the day, they're not gods, they're humans, right? And advertisement does work on them as well. They do drink Coca-Cola, so they listen to advertisements, right? The thing is, to advertise yourself, you have to kind of insert your name into their life without them knowing. You can do that by social media. You can do that by adding to LinkedIn, like their posts on LinkedIn, DM them on LinkedIn, okay? Just do it as if you are contacting someone you want to be friends with. Do you know what I mean? Or somebody you want to get to know, basically. So, yeah, exactly. So do contact them, say, listen. So contact them on DM them on LinkedIn, add them on LinkedIn, like their posts on LinkedIn, comment on LinkedIn, because once they see your name over and over and over again, then you email them with the same name, then boom, they click on it. Why would they click on it? Because they just feel that this name is familiar. They click on it, and then they read your amazing email. You increase your chances by 15 to 20%, and that really helps. So that's my other advice, is to DM those lads, basically.
Did you guys have any other like unconventional ways of reaching out to PIs other than like email and LinkedIn?
In person, like as I said, going up to people, friends who've been with other PIs, like, you know, can I have their email, blah, blah, blah. Be careful who you refer on. Obviously, if you work with someone, make sure you trust them and you think they'll work well. But yeah, like network, just go up to them at conferences, go up to them after lectures, go up to them at talks. Every opportunity you have to meet these people or to engage with them, as Ali said, just use it.
That's exactly, guys, that's a great advice. And that's exactly how I got the Harvard research. Is basically by not contacting the PI himself, is by contacting a friend of the PI and asking him if he can connect me with anyone. And he said, I know two people, one in Tufts, one in Harvard. And I was like, I wish I get the Tufts one, because no way I'm going to get the Harvard. I ended up getting the Harvard one. Right? So a friend of a friend is a great thing to start with, and ask anybody in your network. So when you add people on LinkedIn, even though they cannot help you, they might help you by helping you to connect you with someone else. And if a fellow doctor connects you to his colleague, you're gonna bypass all those emails and you're gonna be the top of the list this way. That's a great advice. So do use the connection. So when you add people on LinkedIn, do not just add neurologists. So if you want something, say if you want cardiosurgery, don't just add cardiothoracic surgeons. Add cardiothoracic surgeons, add neurosurgeons, add nephrology, add every single one, and target the places you want to go to. Okay, so so when you go on LinkedIn, and you get just write cardiology, Boston University, and a lot of names gonna pop up, and you go like boom, 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 boom. You add them in order. Whoever connects with you, DM them. If they can't help you, they might suggest somebody who can. And that's a great advice. That will help you a lot as well. Thank you, Ethan.
Just going off of what Aoife kind of touched on, something that worked for me was getting in touch with a PI from a friend. So I had a friend that had met a PI and didn't get the opportunity to go to do research with them. But then she kind of connected me with the PI, and then I got to do that research. But in the same way, you might talk to one of your friends in your class or in the years ahead of you that have done research in something that you're interested in. And maybe if their PI is a part of a big lab, or if they're not returning, that PI might be looking for a new student, and the person who had worked with them previously could connect you with them. So just talking to your friends about their research, and then that could maybe get you a direct contact with a PI to kind of take over somebody's job. My mouse isn't working, that's why I can't mute myself. I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect. So then we can move on to the next question. So it's
second. I think someone has their hand raised. Maybe.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
I think Aisa, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, I never did research, and I'm IC1 currently, and I don't know what to offer to the research. Like me as a person, I have no idea what's in the research and what I am going to serve. And some of them say that I have to work like 40 hours per week and or 20 hours per week. So like I thought it's gonna be a lot of work in addition to my studies. Unless if it was in the summers, it would be fine, but I'm not sure. what's the time that they ask the research to start. Anyways, so what if I have no experience? What do you actually recommend me to do first before applying to a research? Because like I am actually not as competitive as others. If I was a PI, I would not choose myself. So what do you recommend in this case?
Can I answer this one? First of all, you obviously didn't take my advice into account, saying that do not underplay yourself. That's the first mistake you made, is saying that if I was a PI, if I were a PI, I would not choose myself. Get that out of your head now, before 7:15. That's it. It's done. It's out. Boom. Second thing is, it's not how skillful you are, it's how you present yourself and how you sell yourself. So what do you have to offer? You sit down and you say, I have nothing to offer. But if you think deep down inside, you do have something to offer. Are you passionate about your research? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Can you manage your time?
Yeah.
That's it. That's what they need. They need time. All they need from you is time. So you can just mention that in the last sentence, that I'm doing great in school and I'm great at time management. For example, mention to them that you are whatever, like included in societies or whatever. Just mention something that you are busy with.
Yeah.
Make up something we are busy with, and then say, I am currently managing my studies. I'm doing well in my studies. I'm doing well on this other thing that I'm passionate about and love. But when I'm gonna be part of your research, I'm gonna leave this extracurricular stuff and focus 100% on your research. That's what you have to offer to them. You're offering time for their research. So that's in itself is an offer. Can you do Excel? Can you work on Excel sheet? Obviously you can. Or if you can't, you can just watch some videos and you'll learn it in 2 days. And you can say, I am good in Excel. I can know how to arrange data in Excel sheet. And I think our society, that's the whole point of it, is to teach you those kind of small, minimal skills that will bring you from here to a little bit here, and then takes you out from you can fly on your own thereafter. But you can say, I can work in Excel sheet, I can arrange data well in Excel sheet, and I have the time that I can dedicate for the research, and I have the passion. That's it. That's 3 main things that's all you need to offer to them. You don't have to get all the fancy things. We're still students anyways. When I started, I knew nothing about stats. I knew nothing about, I actually, when I was in Harvard, I was actually studying for my, what's that course? HPBS? No, HPBS. EBH. I failed EBH. I was doing the research in Boston and Harvard, and I failed EBH at the same time. I went back and I did EBH. Obviously, I passed it, but that's my point. I wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. I get.
I wasn't a bright student then. But once you get it, you can just learn on the job. You know, you're not going to be like the president of the United States straight up. You're gonna start off as an entry job level. So offer them time, passion, and simple skills like Word document and Excel sheet. That's more than enough. And do not underplay yourself. Do not underplay yourself. Okay?
That's really motivational. I have got a lot of ideas in my head while you were talking. So
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's fine. No problem.
That's what we like to hear. I'm glad he was able to help you. And I think we have one more question from Helen. Helen has her hand raised.
Hi, sorry, I came a little bit late, so I wasn't too sure if this was talked about. This was in relation to remote research, but I was wondering, I've done it before, but because we don't know how long this pandemic is gonna last for, and there's a possibility we can't travel back home in the summer, vice versa, stay in Ireland. So do you think that it matters what type of research it is, whether that's remote research or lab research, or do all of them kind of have the same value when you proceed for upper years when you apply for residency, or just trying to make your CV better? Because I hear a lot of people say there's a lot of value in doing research in person as opposed to just doing it remote, like a lot of people did over the summer. So that I don't know if this was already answered, so I apologize if I'm just repeating myself here, but I'm just kind of curious about that.
From my experience, so this summer I did remote research myself, and I did a literature review. Now, I will be putting it on my CV when I'm applying to next summer's research. And I don't think I would necessarily mention explicitly that this was a remote research opportunity, because I don't see how doing a literature review specifically in person as opposed to remote research would have differed any much, especially because my PI set up this thing over the summer where we would have weekly journal meetings. So it was really almost like doing it in person, just remotely. And next summer, I mean, it's really up to you if you would like to do remote research as opposed to in-person research. So if you're looking to do another literature review or something that can be done online, I don't see how that would take away any value. Maybe networking might be a little bit more difficult, but if you're able to just ask the PI, hey, you know, if you have multidisciplinary meetings over Microsoft Teams every week, for example, would you mind if I sat in on them or just listened? Or try to contact your PI and say, hey, I know we're doing this remotely, but if there's anything that you're doing behind the scenes that you think would be of added value to me or added benefit, let me join in. Or is there anything I can help you with, anything I can do? So don't just stop at the research that you're doing for the PI, especially if it's remotely. Definitely go the extra mile and ask, is there anything else that you are doing that I can join in on? Or is there anyone else that you could refer me to that I could do something with them? So doing remote research as opposed to in-person research, I don't think takes away from the value, but you definitely, with the remote research, you have to go the extra mile and make sure that what you would have been getting in person, you're also getting remotely. So that's what I did this summer, was I asked the PI, Dr. Claire Conway, I had asked her, hey, would it be okay if we all, because me and 3 other students were doing research on different valves of the heart. So I suggested, hey, what if we all got together and did, weekly meetings, because we're all doing valve stuff. So that's pretty similar. And we got together and talked about different papers. And I actually got so much added, learning value from that experience, because all these different students with different research experiences taught me different ways of looking at papers or presented new information. So remote research can actually be, maybe even just as better than in-person research. So yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, and I suppose just to follow on from that, the only real research you need to be in person for is the basic sciences in the lab. And that really, I don't know, maybe I'm sure people have come up with innovative ways around it because of COVID. But when it comes to like clinical research, which is what a lot of people do, and I'm not advising you to do one or the other, but there's kind of 2 broad categories of research in medicine. It's clinical versus basic science. So clinical research, a lot of it can be done remotely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, the majority, like I've been involved in like upwards of 7 or 8 different research projects at this stage. And I've for years, so I've been involved in research for about 5 or 6 years. I have spent a few months in total, it may be 2 months total, actually on a clinical site, actually with files and stuff. So a lot of your research anyway, your data extraction is quite abrupt, it's quite quick to do, and then you do the rest of it like at home, online. Like all of the hard work in research is the write-up, it's the analysis, it's the tidying of the information. So there's actually not a huge amount of benefit of sitting in a hospital, and that's why or in an office, that's why a lot of research can be done remotely, and you'll find that more and more PIs will be going that way because of COVID.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because for me personally, I've done lab research, remote literature reviews, and also remote clinical research. And if I'm being really, really honest, I think remote research has brought me the most opportunities, because for clinical, for example, for clinical remote research, you could propose like, oh, if your consultant wants to write a report, be like, I'm not able to be physically in the hospital, but if you pull out the patient records and you write the case, I can do the introduction and the discussion bit of the paper, which is the hard part, because you have to go look at all the literature, like synthesize it, write it up. So you can propose it that way for remote clinical. Then for remote literature reviews, like you can still have all your meetings with the labs online. In fact, a lot of the labs now, because not everyone can be there at the same time, they're doing lab meetings virtually as well. So you can definitely be like, oh, I can call into the lab meetings if you just send me the link, and then we can discuss there. And then for lab, obviously you have to be there, but at the same time, lab research, usually the duration of it is very, very long. And in order to get like anything worth putting out there into the literature is a huge time commitment. So if actually you're looking for something quick that, that is still very good on your CV, like I definitely recommend remote research, especially now. Because for me, remote research has brought me so many opportunities. So don't like put it down that remote's not as good. It's just as good or better.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. So the next one is, how do we apply for a research summer school in RCSI, and what are the requirements? So research summer school, so we reached out to Niall Stevens, who is the head of the research summer school, and he let us know that it's going to happen this year, like this summer, but there's going to be some changes, and they'll be communicating that with you like soon enough. So I would keep an eye out on like Moodle and emails and things like that, but it should be going ahead. Other than that, I've never applied to research summer school here in RCSI, so if you guys, if you have, and you remember any requirements from that, if you could talk about it, that'd be good.
Yeah. So I've done 2 years of research summer school, 2018 and 2019. So basically for us, I'm not sure, like they said, there would be changes this year. But for us, all we had to submit was a 1-page CV. So you have to be really targeted in what you put in your CV. Make sure that you're getting, whatever you want to get out there into your CV, because that's all that they can see. They don't get access to your grades or any other part, just your CV. And then after that, you get to pick 3 projects. And then we used to have to rank it the first year, but the second year they removed the ranking system. I'm not sure if this year they're going to make you rank the projects again. And then basically you get all the offers online. And then you can accept or deny. You can only accept 1 offer. And then once that goes through, you have to apply for funding. So there's a few options for funding. Number 1 is the Research Summer School Fund grant. So that one is offered by RCSI. The second one is HRB, so that's Health Research Board. And then the third one is the Welcome Trust. So there's different requirements for each one. But fortunately, if you have an offer for Research Summer School, you'll definitely get an RCSI funding if you don't get HRB or Welcome Trust. But I think now you have to apply for HRB or Welcome Trust before being eligible for RCSI. So the first year they didn't have any that sort of requirement, so I did RCSI funding, and then the second year I was funded by HRB. So the reason why I had to apply for HRB the second year is because I think as a first year medical student you're not eligible for HRB. So I had to do RCSI research summer school grants. That way they'll explain all of this to you, and your PI will be very involved in all your funding applications. And don't worry, if anything happens, you'll always get that RCSI funding. So that was my experience applying to RCSI research summer school. Pretty easy. You don't need that much stuff, just the CV, and you're good to go. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add. Some PIs, when they might shortlist you and then invite you for interviews, so that's another thing. Yeah, not everyone does it, but your PI might reach out for an interview.
Yeah, myself and Emma have to interview one of the years we did it. I did it twice as well. So they shortlist you and then you go, and it's like kind of any other interview. I'm sure a lot of people have done interviews to get into RCSI. So it's just kind of what do you bring and what do you like as a person. So it's grand. Emma, what do you think? It's not particularly difficult, the interview process?
Honestly, it's just a chat. The PIs want you there. They're lovely. I know they are very eminent in their relevant fields and all that, and it can be very intimidating going to, actually speak to them. They're experts or whatever. I don't know why I did that. They're literally experts. But they are just. It is a chat. Why do you want to do the project? Why? What excites you about this? What do you think you can bring? And I know Ali gave a great kind of overview of really holding yourself in high regard, because even if you don't have, myself, need to have a lot of experience. Regard, different skills with Excel, PowerPoint, but you know what I mean, giving presentations and stuff.
We're great at PowerPoint.
We're great at PowerPoint. We're fantastic. Remember the steps of 6 Eva? But you do have skills. If you have a brain, you have a skill. You are in medical school. You are an intelligent individual. You have skills. You are capable of teaching yourself something via YouTube. You know, it's not, I cannot tell you, I've 2 masters and I still have to Google how to do certain different procedures and things in Excel. It's perfectly normal. To look at me on paper, I seem great, but in reality, I'm a bit of a space cadet.
No, she's not.
I think I'm fantastic, but you know, you're always learning. So please don't ever feel intimidated to go and speak to someone. They are years ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like you'll be there in a few years.
And in fact, most of them think that we're amazing because they never did research as undergrad. So they're like, oh my God, you're such go-getters. You're like, when I was in med school, I just went to the coffee shops and went shopping. Whereas like they think we're really like studious and go-getters. So, you know, fake it till you make it and you'll get there.
Just one more thing about the Welcome Trust grant. I know there was issues the last year that I did the research summer school for 2 years as well. It's you're not eligible for it if you've done research previously. So in my case, it would have been the research summer school, but I did research before coming to medical school, so I was ineligible. So just to bear in mind, if anyone does have an existing degree or any other research experience, be it Irish, UK, European, American, North American, whatever, they will reject you. But as I think it was Caitlin who said, it's mandatory that you apply. They want to see you get funding from outside sources because, you know, it looks more kind of, ooh, this project was funded by the Welcome Trust, by the HRB, whatever. So just to bear that in mind as well.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll move on to the next question then. So this one's quite popular and it's basically just explain SSP, like the student selected project component of, in my time it was IC3, so like last year it was IC3. And so briefly, like what it is there are 3 blocks. So IC3 will be divided into 3 blocks and each block will have 6 weeks that they can dedicate their time to research. And you're free to reach out to whomever you want. You can do it abroad, so not even back home, but like you can go to America even though you live in Canada, or you can just do it in your city and just have an extended Christmas break, whatever you may want to choose. And the way that you'd explain it to your PI is just say that I have a research block and it's 6 weeks time. Like that was how I explained it to my PI. Right? Like, would there be anything else that you guys would add? Yeah.
Yeah, just one little thing. So I did my SSC on influenza. So obviously the flu season is, you know, would be the first block just after Christmas coming into January. So Dr. Fitzpatrick even had to email the student select component coordinator and explain that, you know, I had to be assigned to the first block because, you know, the influenza is, you know, start January and continuing onwards. So if your project may be specific or dependent on, you know, current circulating viruses, be it whatever it is. So that's another thing to remember as well. And they are very accommodating with that regard, but you cannot email. Well, not that you can't email, but it looks better. And it looks better if your PI emails on your behalf explaining the situation. It's not just you being a diva saying, well, you know, it's interfering with my holiday plans or whatnot.
Yeah, and just try and avoid that kind of carry on like it's interfering with my plans. Like you are really lucky to get research, and avoid at all costs taking days off and weeks off and trying to, you know, it doesn't look good, especially if it's your first chance. Like we've all had to forgo trips and, you know, things we wanted to do to get the 6 weeks of a block or whatever. So try where possible, be professional. If it was a job you were paid to do, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to take this weekend off and have an extra few days. So I know that sounds very strict, but just gives off a bad impression.
I think another thing just about your SSP or SSC, also that was kind of confusing at the beginning. Those are the same thing. But what you're essentially supposed to get out of that experience, like they give you this block of 6 weeks because they want you to gain experience in research. So that can be really variable. There's no real expectations from RCSI on exactly what they want you doing. Basically, they want you to do research. And I know this is like a big question for anyone is what is research? But basically, any opportunity you have, you could be doing data entry, you could be doing lab research, you could be doing clinical research, basically anything. I think at the beginning they told us they didn't want us doing literature reviews, which is kind of something that it wouldn't really be a part of a lab. That's kind of a personal research project that you could do. So they wanted a bit more of a team or lab style research other than literature review. But once COVID happened, actually, they said that literature reviews would be accepted. So I'm not sure if that'll be the same for this year. But basically, all RCSI wants you to get out of it is the experience. What you'll have to do following your experience is write a paper kind of about what you did. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a research paper. You don't have to have results. You don't need to have like findings. You basically just need to discuss what you were researching, maybe some of the relevant existing literature. And then we also did a presentation, which was where, as if you were presenting your research at a conference, but just to your classmates, really. And because of COVID, we didn't do that last year. We just made the PowerPoint and shared it online. But I think what's normally expected is that you get the opportunity to present what you studied, what you learned, things like that. So that's like the main learning outcomes, I think, from that research block, if that helps.
So just to add to that, I think, Katie, I think they don't want you to do literature review, but they would be okay with systematic reviews and meta-analyses if you can do them. Mm-hmm. So the only difference between literature review and systematic review is basically literature review, just review literature without having kind of system in mind. Systematic review, you'd have a system and you would exclude studies and target the literature more systematically. They are okay with that. Because I was a bit confused when they said that when I was in IC3, I thought they don't even accept systematic reviews, but turns out they do accept that if you do a systematic review. And they're not very easy to do anyways. Yeah.
Okay, and we have one last question, and it was just basically, what is the best way to get involved in an audit? And the way that we'd address this, so last semester, back around March, we were meant to have an event with Dr. Melanie Cunningham, and she's a professor and she teaches like the senior cycle class, and she's really, really good. And she was meant to give a talk about how to conduct clinical audits. So we've gotten into contact with her and we're trying to reach her. And so hopefully we can have the event happening this semester so that those of you in the hospitals and like keen on doing this kind of research can go ahead and do that. But other than that, I've never done an audit. If you guys have.
I have. It's just a case of asking the team you're on, are you doing any audits at the moment? Do you need help? Will you be doing an audit anytime this year? I can help. An audit is basically, there's loads of different types of audits, but a lot of research that you'd read is actually clinical audit. It's going back on charts and electronic health records and kind of retrospectively assessing, like going backwards in time, looking for trends in the data. So just ask the team, make friends with someone on the team, a nice SHO or Reg or whoever listen to you, and say, are you doing an audit? Can I help? And they'll tell you what to do. Like, it's not like it's some magical recipe that you already are meant to know what it is. There's loads of different ways of doing it. It literally might be a case of you going through 10 charts for them and picking out the age of the patients on the BMIs, and that could be an audit. Or it could be going through a database, or they might have it all ready to go and they might just want you to make plots and charts and stuff. So just ask and you will receive, I promise. They're always doing them. They have to do them for what's the word? For career progression. So everyone's doing them in every hospital.
So if no one has anything else to add, we'll just open up the floor to questions from you guys. So if anyone watching has any questions, just raise your hand and ask your.
On during your career, because they teach you simple lab skills, and they teach you how to analyze and like look at the literature, analyze the data. So it's basic lab research are a great thing to start with. And then there's the clinical research. Clinical research is when you work on that data, so patients' data. and you see, for example, how many people are taking aspirin and how many had, say, MIs in the next 3 years. So you look at patient file, and they call it as retrospective study. So that's a clinical. So there's you know yourself. There's retrospective, prospective, and whatever. So that's a clinical. So those are the two that include data in them, and then there's the third one, which is the systematic review. You don't need data for that. You can do that remotely, as Kathy said. You can do that 100% remotely. Look at the literature and look at the literature systematically, exclude, and then you draw up your conclusion from that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Ali.
No problem.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Just feel free to raise your hand. Okay, so I guess we'll just wrap things up then. Thank you everyone for coming today. I hope you learned and we answered your questions about the research.
Sorry to cut you off. Can I just add something before we finish off?
Yeah, go for it, of course.
So yeah, it's just I just would like to add one more thing about the society itself. So basically, like the whole idea of, so we're speaking about you having your own skills and this and that. The whole idea we started the society, even I last year, is basically to give those. Because IFA saw that there's a deficit in the skills before you start the research. So the whole idea of the society is to teach you those simple skills that you want to add in the last sentence of your email. Those basic skills that will help you to get the research, and then what you do thereafter. So that's the whole idea of the society. And I want to add something else that I heard on elective night last year from the what do you call the American Society, the AMSA, yeah. One of the guys there said something that stuck with me, and I think it will for my whole career. He said something that sending an email to a PI or sending an email for research or for electives will never harm you anyhow. Like you will never have any harm if you just send that email. It will only take 15 minutes from your time, but you might get something out of it. If they said no or they didn't reply, you're in the same position as you are at the moment, which is not that bad. If they replied, you'll get something out of it. So put that in mind, that sending an email is beneficial and has absolutely no harm. Okay, everybody have 15 minutes to spend and have this advice, because it did help me a lot to contact a lot of people. So before you know yourself, you don't have the courage to go, or they might refuse me. So what? You're still in the same position as you are if they refuse you. You're not going to get kicked out of the college because they said no to you. Okay? Sorry to cut you out there, Kasia.
Oh, no worries. I'm sure everyone watching appreciated all the motivational comments by everyone speaking today. I was motivated myself for next summer, but I hope everyone here had a good experience, learning from us, and hopefully we answered all your questions. If we haven't, please feel free to email us on our society's email, or just drop us a DM on Instagram or even Facebook. Get in contact with us. We'd love to answer your questions. We'd be very happy to. We are working on a lot of things behind the scenes, so make sure you're following our Instagram and staying up to date with all the stuff that we're doing, because the events that we're planning are for your benefit and to make you more competitive candidates for your next research application coming in the summer. So we look forward to seeing you all at our next events, and have a good night. And please always come to us if you have any questions about anything. Okay. Good talk, guys.
Guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.